heading north of town as top-ranked Christ Presbyterian Academy is set to travel to Davidson Academy this evening. We have with us the veteran coach of the Division 2A number 1 Lions as judged by the Tennessee Baseball Coaches Association. Larry Nesbitt joining us here on Coach's Corner. Coach, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Maurice, thanks for having me on. Appreciate all you guys do for Middle Tennessee sports.
Well, thank you. First off, what's the status of your 5 o'clock game at Davidson today?
No 5 o'clock game today. So we'll be having practice today here at 3:15 and get a little work done. But if there's anybody looking for a game on Friday or Saturday, please feel free to reach me out. I'm trying to find one.
There you go. Should we throw your number out there, Coach? Should everyone have it?
Hey, it's on Coach T. It's everywhere you can find it. So if anybody's looking
you know, right?
That's right.
There we go. Well, there are those that would argue, Coach, that y'all don't need a whole lot of work. What, 15-2-1?
Yeah, that's right. We've played a lot of games, but there's other teams out there that have played more games than us, and we like to play just like those teams do, and so we want to get all our games in.
A couple of 4-3 losses to Bob Jones out of Alabama earlier this month, and to Beach earlier this week, and then a 5-inning 1-1 tie against Rossview yesterday. I'm not going to ask you what's wrong, but I can see why you guys would kind of be in a hurry to get back out on the field, I guess. But it's been a nice season overall. That loss to Beach snaps a 9-game win streak for you, looks like.
Yeah, we're off to a good start. The main games for us are the region games. We've had 3 series in our region that have gone our way, and so definitely fortunate to have won those series. And outside of the region, we want to play the best competition that we can. Had the opportunity to match up with Bob Jones down in a tournament. First time we've ever played them before, and they're a great team. But this week has been awesome. We're off this week in the region, and if you don't know anything about Beach, they're a great team. We faced a crafty lefty. I think he was their number 2 pitcher. And then yesterday we faced Rossview, and they've got a sophomore left-handed pitcher. It's one of the best that we've seen. And facing teams like that, teams that are good baseball teams, anytime we can face a good pitcher, we're going to get better. But I just like playing baseball teams that love to play baseball, and they're going to continue to get better throughout the year.
Now, Beach has also got the kid that's committed to Kentucky, right?
Yeah, and if you had been to the game, or if anybody came to the game, they would have seen about 108 off the bat about 3 times. So that kid can really play. He can really hit. He's a big kid. But the other thing, too, he can run. So he almost beat out a ball. I would say that he did beat out a ball to our second baseman, but umpire called him out, so it went our way. But he plays really, really hard. He's a talented kid. There's a reason why he's a SEC talent.
So he beat out a ball that the umpire decided he wasn't supposed to beat out then, huh?
That's right. That's the only time we got him out that day, but we'll take it.
Absolutely. Coach, again, 15-2-1, and you've got some names over there that are kind of familiar to some folks, but tell us who is contributing to your success at this point of the season.
It's really started with our pitching staff so far this year. So one of our primary pitchers is Eli Dickey. So R.A. Dickey's our pitching coach here, and his son is extremely talented. He's got in the 30s strikeouts. He's only got 4 walks this year. And so the other day he pitched versus Beach, didn't give up a single walk. So talented pitcher, just fills it up in the strike zone. And then the second guy behind him is Weston Williford, who just committed to Lipscomb University this week. And so same thing for him, 3 pitches, throws a ton of strikes. And then we've got a sophomore named Cooper Daniel that's kind of a Swiss Army knife, number 3/closer. He's built a lot like me. He reminds me of me, as a matter of fact, just a wiry kid that just pump strikes, throws hard. So it really has started with our pitching staff, but obviously we do have some talented guys that hit also. We got a Dallas Baptist commit, Reagan McCluskey. Hudson Chance is going to UT Knoxville, and then we got a guy named Brock Bedingfield that's also going to Lipscomb. And by the way, he catches Weston Williford, so it's going to be neat to see them play together for the next 5 years. But I do want to point out we got a lot of talented players, but our star players team chemistry. So these guys, although they're talented, they get along, they pull for each other. We've got 5 or 6 guys that are in a rotation that aren't even playing every day, one of which is the Belmont commit. So if you can imagine that, we have a junior on our team that's going to play baseball at Belmont. And his name is Kyler Gorley, and he's playing, 50 to 75% of the time. And so it's just stuff like that that's making this team special.
Coach, you say all that, and you kind of talk about sounds like almost an embarrassment of riches a little bit. But I got to ask you, RA and Eli, they got some Giles County family down there. If you got too many arms, I feel like the Giles County Bobcats could take 1 or 2 of those guys off your hands there. I know RA would be like enjoying getting back to his family there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I like Giles County. Don't get me wrong. We've played there a time or two, but I'd like to keep our guys, and that's honestly why I'm trying to find a game. We need to get these guys some work. So Eli and Weston have already pitched, but Cooper Daniel needs to get out there. We have a sophomore named Jack Van Orman that needs to get out there, and Tyler Hips needs to get out there. So we got 1 game tomorrow versus Franklin High School, but need to find another game so those guys can get on the mound.
I tried my recruiting pitch, Coach, but masterfully done by you. I admire that. I do want to ask you too, Coach. Obviously, you've had tremendous success. A decade plus worth of success there. How do you approach when you have that track record, state championship banners, all around the ballpark? When you have that track record, how do you approach and treat each team differently in your mind?
It's each team is going to have a different dynamic. I can tell you that this team, so our squad this year, the 2025 team, they are really, really mature baseball players. And so we have strong leaderships. I told them the other day at practice at the end of it that they didn't even need a coach this year. And that's the truth. That's not me trying to humble brag or anything like that. That's just the truth about these guys. We'll go out there and practice today. And if anybody was watching, you would see how hard they would strain. You would see that they're hungry to get better. And that's not coming from me or the coaching staff. That's coming from them.
Larry Nesbitt, CPA baseball coach, joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Coach, you mentioned Eli, and you mentioned a bunch of guys that are in the rotation for you, aren't getting on the field on a regular basis. I wanted to ask you, what is your approach with regard to pitchers only or pitcher only guys? Do you have a bunch of those, or do you have two-way guys, or how is that dictated individually, or do you have a philosophy on that?
Yeah, we don't have that's not something that the coaches make decisions about. We do let our players make those decisions. And so majority of the guys that come into us are two-way players. Eli, you mentioned, he was a hitter when he came into high school. The past 2 seasons, he's decided not to hit. He'll have that option to hit again next year if that's something that he wants to do. Weston Williford, our number 2, is the same way. He came in as a position player and a pitcher. He's backed off to focus on pitching, but I've noticed here recently that he's hitting in the cage and he's taking ground balls at first base, at second base, and that's all something that he's doing on his own. I think he probably sees some openings for next year where he might be able to hit, and so those are all decisions that we allow our players to make. Cooper Daniel, by the way, our number 3, I expect that he'll be starting in the middle infield for us next year. So It's not something that we decide for our guys. Our guys will look at the roster and see what abilities they have, and it is pretty mature of them to be like, hey, I have this ability and I can help in this way, or I see this guy and he's probably got, he's probably better at this position than I am. I probably need to focus on getting better on the mound.
And I guess when you've got options, that's always a good thing. And Eli headed to Jacksonville State, committed as a junior to the Gamecocks down there. So, a lot of guys getting ready to go to the next level for you, looks like.
Yeah, like I mentioned, Eli Dickey, Jacksonville State, Weston Wilford, Lipscomb University. Coach Dickey is confident that Cooper Daniel is going to have an opportunity to pitch at the next level. Got a guy named Jack Van Norman we think can really do it at the next level. And then already mentioned Reagan McCluskey, Dallas Baptist, Hudson Chance, UTK, and Brock Bedingfield, Lipscomb University. The other one that I mentioned is Kyler Gorley, Belmont University.
Yeah. Again, as Wade said, an embarrassment of riches. And I guess when you get the RA stamp of approval, that certainly doesn't hurt. What's it like having a former Cy Young Award winner on your coaching staff, Coach?
Oh, it's unbelievable. He's an expert. And so to have an expert on your staff that you can turn things completely over to, I'm embarrassed to say that, there was a few years before him that I was the pitching coach, and I didn't know what I was doing out there, just trying to figure it out. But the other thing too about him, it's not just that he's an expert, it's his humility. So I'm shocked sometimes. Like, I'll watch our pitchers shake Coach Dickey off in the game, and I'll just be thinking to myself, why would you do that? And he's so patient about it, and he'll just come and talk to them, and they have the freedom to do that. I also want to mention too, he's not the only expert that we have on our staff. Our hitting coach is a guy named Brent Chance, and he studied a new swing out of Knoxville from 108 Performance, and he's become an expert on it. And so I do have a defensive coordinator and an offensive coordinator per se here at CPA, and they each have an hour a day to spend. Coach Dickey spends an hour a day with the pitchers, and Coach Chance spends an hour a day with the hitters, and I can just focus on installing team defense.
Seems to be a winning formula for you. Again, 15-2-1 to this point. Franklin tomorrow, big region matchup with Ainsworth, and friend of the show Jason Maxwell next week. Finish up with region matchups against Brentwood Academy and Lipscomb Academy. 3-game series for each of those. You got to like those 3-game series, I would think, Coach, for a couple of reasons. One, it really kind of gives you a better feel for who is the better team because it gets deeper into your pitching, I would guess. But also it eliminates any ties when you get ready for postseason play.
Yeah, that's right. So we had last year we went to 2-game series, and there was a time last year where I thought that everybody in our region was going to be 6-6. Think about that for a second. So
my brain hurts.
Yeah, at the time we were halfway through. We were 3-3, and everybody else was right around that mark. And so, the 3-game series is stressful for a coach, just because every pitch matters, and you're trying to do your best for the team. And so, I'm wired. I'm a pretty stressful guy. I think I got cortisol shooting through my fingertips majority of the day. But like you said, the piece of that I do really like is the best team's usually going to win in a 3-game series, so I do really like that part.
Do some of your Wednesday games wind up like Sunday games in the SEC, Coach, when you get to those third pitchers and you're getting into the bullpens and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it does for sure. That's why I was mentioning to you, Cooper Daniel. He's got a unique role because he's going to close for us on game 1 and game 2. All right. Well, if he throws too many pitches in game 2, or if he closes game 1 and game 2, he's not going to start game 3. You know, and so that's when we've got to develop a fourth pitcher, and we have a good one in Jack Van Orman, and I've seen it in him, and he's done a great job so far. But you can imagine you got to have one of those Swiss Army knives on your team if you're going to have a closer and somebody that can start and pitch.
You're right. Coach, it sounds like a lot of the names that you've mentioned are underclassmen, which means that people are going to have to deal with y'all next year as well. I know you don't want to look that far ahead. You still got a lot of work to do this time around. But as a coach, what's it like to look around and see, you know, a bunch of guys that are going to be back for you in 26?
Yeah, we look at 2-year cycles all the time with our coaching staff. So at the beginning of the year, we look at our 2025 team, and we also look at our 2026 team so that we have a good plan to develop those players. And all the time throughout the year, myself, Coach Chance, Coach Dickey, Coach Kelly, we're always talking about both the present year and the year after that, because we really have to continue to develop those players. It's one of the big reasons why we believe so much in the rotation. I mentioned to you earlier, we have 3 guys sharing 2 positions, and we have 2 guys sharing 1 position. So that's 5 players right there. Only one of them is a senior. So we have 4 guys that we feel good about being everyday players in 2026 because they've got so much varsity experience.
And everybody else in your region loves to hear that. Right, Coach?
Well, I'm sure they're doing the same thing, by the way. So all the coaches in our regions, you mentioned Coach Maxwell, but all of the coaches in our regions are really smart, talented baseball coaches that are a lot of fun to coach against.
Coach, we appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon, and I guess it worked out a little bit better because you're not playing after all. But thank you for indulging us for a little bit, and wish y'all luck in getting back on the field and closing this thing out. We'll be keeping an eye on you.
Thanks for having me on. And again, thank you guys for all y'all do.
Yes, sir.
You. Larry Nesbitt, Christ Presbyterian baseball coach, joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia.
Get ready, race fans. NASCAR is back in Music City with a new name, the Cracker Barrel 400. Guitars, fast cars, and the comfort of Cracker Barrel's country hospitality. May 30th through June 1st. The action kicks off Friday night at Nashville Superspeedway with the Rackley Roofing 200. Then the Tennessee Lottery 250 on Saturday. And Sunday night, NASCAR's top stars under the lights in the Cracker Barrel 400. Get your tickets now at NashvilleSuperspeedway.com.
Busy Bee, yeah, Busy Bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Bee, oh, Busy Bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy Bee, oh,
Now
Busy
I'm ready,
Bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
It is time for Coach's Corner, and we are pleased to be joined now by Portland High School Principal David Woods. In addition to his administrative duties up in North Sumner County, David is also a sitting member of the TSSAA Legislative Council, which held a meeting earlier this week. David, first of all, good afternoon, and thanks for coming in with us today.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to you guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Talk to us a little, David, if you would, about what took place at that meeting on Tuesday, because I know there's a lot going on right now with eligibility rules and transfer rules and residence rules, particularly as they relate to private and boarding schools, different things like that. Y'all are really kind of under the gun, more so than you have been in a while. What did y'all address Tuesday?
Well, first of all, maybe I didn't know what I was getting into when I put my name in the hat for this back in the fall at our regional meeting. But I took a stab at replacing Art Crook from Station Camp. He's retiring this year and moving out of state. So I took his spot for the Section 5 of our TSSAA. But yeah, it's been a little bit of a hornet's nest with the recruiting rules and stuff like, not recruiting, but transfer rules like that. So we discussed several things. Quite frankly, we've had probably 3 or 4 meetings, a few more than normal, just because of everything going on. So you kind of tell me where you want to go, because we had talked about girls flag football, talked about transfer, a little bit about residence, all that kind of stuff. So where do you want to start?
Let's start with girls flag football, actually, because this is the first year for Sumner County, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep, first year. We had games last night. Portland came away 1-1, got a win over Gallatin, lost to Station Camp, but it's been really good. In fact, my daughter's actually playing on our team, and we were talking at the meeting on Tuesday. We now have 150 teams across the state of Tennessee participating. So it's now kind of to the Board of Control to decide whether or not we're going to start having a state championship in that. And if we do, we're going to have to figure out when we're going to play it. Is it going to be a fall sport, or is it going to be a spring sport? Because there are some schools that have been playing in the fall. I think the majority are in the spring right now. There wasn't any action taken on that by us. The TSSAA is going to send out a questionnaire the next week or so, all the member schools, just trying to narrow it down. I don't think it's not going to be perfect for everybody. They're kind of wanting to know, okay, how many girls do you have playing flag that are playing soccer or playing volleyball, playing girls basketball? And then just trying to figure out where we're going to put it. There was a good argument. I think it was from the Knoxville area schools. They played it in the fall, but they didn't start right away like golf and stuff. They waited almost until the very end of volleyball and soccer, kind of late fall, and took it through the 1st of December. And their argument was just facilities, because in the spring, with a busy track and field schedule like they have, they don't have the facilities in the spring to do it. But with it being in the fall, they could go ahead and play some weeknight games in the football stadiums. So I thought that was a pretty compelling argument I heard from some of the council members. Well, like I said, nothing's set in stone there yet. We're going to send questionnaires out, and then I got a feeling in the months coming, we'll know exactly when and where that's going to be.
David, while we're talking flag football, I'm curious genuinely here. How much of this are you guys and gals kind of just flying by the seat of your pants and just trying to figure things out as you go? Presumably there is a little bit of a roadmap, but I guess I'm curious how much of that roadmap kind of really is laid out and how much is just seeing what works and what doesn't in your mind at this point.
Well, especially with the rules, you can tell the fans have no idea what the rules are because nobody's yelling at the refs. All right, so, but yeah, for Sumner County, for our first year, we're just playing the 7 or 8 schools in our county against each other. 1 hour double headers on Saturday. The reason why we played last night is because of the storms this past weekend. So we wrap up this coming weekend with our season. But yeah, it's been an adjustment. I mean, like on our team in particular, we've got girls from that are cheerleaders, dance team members, girls soccer, volleyball, girls basketball. Some kids don't play anything, and just getting them all together and all being at the same point. It's been fun, but it's also been a little frustrating at times trying to figure it all out. A lot of people are ahead of the curve. I know Williamson County has been doing it for quite a while. And I think even Clarksville Montgomery's been doing it for maybe 3 years now or something like that. So this is our first year. So 100%, we are trying to figure it out, figuring out how to fly the plane as we're building it. But like I said, 150 schools in the state.
Wow.
It's growing by the minute. So I got a feeling the state championship's coming in the very near future for that.
You know, David, as you mentioned, you've got a daughter playing. What kind of it's got to be fun watching them improve, you know, from the start of this season to, you know, you said this weekend is y'all's final week of the season, just seeing the improvement across the board in such a short period of time, I would imagine.
It's been crazy. I mean, from the first time these kids went out to practice and played that first Saturday game until last night, everybody on our whole district of teams, they figured out where you need to reach for the flag, where you don't need to reach for the flag, all the little nuances. You know, I saw a ref call last night. It was called flag guarding. On my daughter, I was like, she doesn't even know what she's doing, but evidently she put her hand down by her flag to protect it. So it's been a lot of fun for sure.
I mean, if you can get away with it, that's great. But hopefully that's not
she
happening.
She didn't have a clue what it was called. She just
yeah.
David, I guess the biggest thing going on is again the residence rule, and what is the motivation behind taking that on, and where did y'all get to with that?
I'm not, to be honest with you, that one's you can get in the weeds in that real quick. So I don't know as much. You might need to give Mark a call and get him on here one day, because it can go all over the place. But I know that there were just some discrepancies with especially the boarding schools in Tennessee. The 6 boarding schools, they were kind of under some different residency rules than everybody else, which, to be honest with you, the boarding schools themselves kind of said it sometimes lends for an unfair advantage for them because the way they do it. So we took some action at the previous meeting that basically stated that if a student coming from another country, because there's been a lot of talk about some students coming in from Canada, especially recently, to the boarding schools, that if they exhausted their eligibility in the country they're coming from, they were no longer going to be eligible. Because a lot of times, you know, in Canada, it seems like 10th grade or something, that's the end of their high school time there. It's kind of weird. It was new to me. I'd never heard about this. But then the other day, we just had some proposals in front of us, and a lot about where you live, who you live with, and the board decided just to take the residency rule off as far as eliminating it for all kids. So I'm not going to have to necessarily at Portland High School go out there and see if Johnny has been living with mom for 12 months. Maybe he's lived with mom for 12 months, and then something's happened there, and or 6 months and had to live with grandma, but he's still in my zone. So that's going to allow him to continue to be eligible and not get caught up in the weeds of having to live with that same exact person, as long as he's still in your
in your zone.
Your zone. It's the best I can understand it. It's far from the public school side of things.
Right. And a proposed change by Christ Presbyterian Academy to determine classification in the same manner for all schools within a division? You know, I've read that a couple of times and I'm still not quite sure that I understand it. So I'm hoping that you do.
Maybe about as good as you do. They did a really good presentation on that, and they were just wanting it kind of be fair. And I'm trying to look and find that one myself, the Christ Presbyterian one. I printed off the minutes that they sent out. And I can't find it right in front of me right now, but they were just.
I'm looking at it and it says, you know, Article 1, Section 3 for tournament competition, there shall be 2 categories. Division 1 shall consist of all member public schools. Division 2 shall consist of all member independent schools. And then the proposal was an addition, Section 4. For each sport, the method of determining classification shall be the same for all schools within a division.
Yeah. The proposal will require the rules for determining classification to be set and applied in the same manner to all classification divisions in sports. It was tabled during our December meeting, and Christ Presbyterian came back and revised their proposal. They came back several times to the meetings and explained to them that just, you know, it's maybe not fair necessarily to just classify one sport one way, but not the other. So however you're going to classify it, make it consistent across the board with those sports. And I believe we voted 12-0 to approve that one.
Okay.
And once they talked about it, it made more sense.
Okay.
Now, I think I told you I was not present for the meeting. I was on a Zoom. I wasn't in the room when all was going on a little bit. So sometimes that audio is not the best in the world. But I kind of understood what they were trying to get to there. They just, you know, if you're going to use like a success factor or something, if you're going to do that for football for that Division II, then do it for basketball and stuff as well. So we'll have to see how that plays out coming down the road with the Board of Control.
Okay. All right. So this is kind of getting at the success factor more than anything, I guess.
It could be, maybe, but if you're going to do it, then let's do it for basketball too.
Okay.
Not
All
just football. Let's do it for softball type of.
Dr. David Woods, Portland High School principal, joining us here on Coach's Corner. David, you know, we talked a little bit yesterday afternoon, and as we were talking about bringing you on today, about, you know, the transfer rule, and we've gotten, I guess, to a one-time freebie at any point during your high school career. Is that accurate? Is that where we're at right now?
I wouldn't just say freebie. There are some guide rails with that. So back at the previous meeting, not this one, we did pass a transfer rule, but it had to be for non-athletic reasons. Had to be academic, social, emotional, something of that nature. And you could transfer without potentially having to change addresses if those things were proven. And the way it kind of read is, for example, let's say I have a student that wants to leave my school and transfer out down the road to East Robertson. They're fairly close. They would not have to move into East Robertson zone if the reason was because East Robertson offered some kind of academic program we didn't have, or if there was some proof of social or emotional disturbance here and they needed like a fresh start somewhere else. Now that one right there gets a little tricky because a lot of people don't want to be talking about that one. But the way it's stated is that the principal from the school that student's leaving, they would have a certain amount of time to either say, yes, they're leaving for the right reasons, or no, they're not. And if a principal were to fail to do either one of those, it would be just considered as they're okay to leave. Because there was some just talk about there may be some principals that really don't want to say one way or the other. And I could see where that might be an issue. So if they weren't going to say, then the student be allowed to leave. However, in a system like mine, the school system, Sumner County or Clarksville, Montgomery, or whatever, they have rules in place already that would kind of trump anything the TSSAA does, because we don't allow students to jump ship to go play. Like, for example, if a kid wanted to go from Portland to Station Camp, they're not going to be doing that without going through the superintendent first. So the superintendent would still have his hands on top of that.
Okay. David, as that rule stands where the transfer can't be for athletic reasons, we had Stephen Hargis of the Chattanooga Times Free Press on a few weeks ago, not long after that was acted on. And maybe he and I and Wade have been in the game too long. I don't know, but it just feels like that's a rule that's waiting to be abused.
Well, there's a lot of them that are, and I don't care what the rules are. There's always going to be somebody somewhere that's going to try to find the loophole or the way around it. That's one good thing I think about the TSSAA. I've been here since 2000, 24 years in the state of Tennessee. For the most part, they're pretty good and fairly consistent with the way they've been doing things. I coach sports at Beach High School, boys basketball, girls softball before I came here. So I've had a lot of dealings with them. And that's the biggest thing we're trying, because as I'm sure y'all are aware, there was some legislation been put out about a one-time transfer. And I think they were kind of wanting it like the NCAA portal, where it's transfer for whatever reason, right? I don't like Mr. Woods as my coach, so I want to go to Coach Patton. I want to go play for him.
You don't want that.
No, we did not want to get in that wild, wild west. So we're trying to make it to where it could still be a transfer without having to move, but there had to be some guide rails around that. And so we are really, really trying to keep that in-house, because right now as we speak, House Bill, I think it was 25, it's going on the House floor. Senate Bill 16 just passed Monday, 25-4, to have a similar thing that we're talking about here, a transfer rule, but they're trying to kind of make it a state law as opposed to with the TSSAA. And that's where we just really feel like that kind of stuff should stay with the TSSAA organization and not be put as a state law, because they've got way too many bigger fish to fry, in my opinion. And I think we could handle it a lot better, and changes that need to be made, we can make those probably a lot easier, just with some called meetings, because once it goes as a state law, you're not changing that until
anytime soon.
Yes. Yeah. You got once a year shot at it. And if we had some issues arise, like you said, there potentially some abuse out there, we could meet and say, put some more guide rails on it, take some off, something like that. But once it becomes state law, then it's pretty much could potentially be a free-for-all situation. We just want to try to keep it with TSSAA.
Wade, did you have anything? You look kind of inquisitive there.
Well, that David kind of answered my question there, because I was curious if what the temperature is do more administrators feel comfortable letting kind of state lawmakers make the decision, or would you rather TSSAA make that? And it seems like you kind of answered you'd prefer TSSAA. They know the language, and the big point that you just mentioned to me was it's quicker to change. If it doesn't work, you can maybe call a meeting here, call a meeting there, and get it turned around seemingly a lot quicker than having to rely on another legislative session meeting.
True, and the organization deals with it every day, right?
Right.
The TSSAA, Mark Reeves and his crew down there, and principals, athletic. We're in this stuff all the time, every day, all year, and they're not. So we see a lot closer to the vest what could happen or couldn't happen. So it's been thought through a little bit. When we put out the survey to the membership, the 300 or so schools back in the fall, I think it was a 60-40 somewhere in that 60-40 split as to whether they wanted to mess with the transfer rule, because a lot of people are nervous and are scared. Like you said, Maurice, that it's just going to be the wild, wild west, right? They did not want that for sure. So that's why we tried to put some guide rules. But at the end of the day, what we put into the bylaws, I mean, that stuff kind of happens now anyway, to be honest with you. If a kid comes to me and says, hey, I want to go to Liberty Creek High School because they have aerospace and you don't, we try to make that happen, because we're all in the business of doing what's right by kids first. That is our first and foremost goal. I don't care if you're a member of TSSAA, if you're sitting in my seat. So that's kind of already there. And if a kid is really struggling with something emotionally and socially at your school and they need to go somewhere else, I don't know of too many administrators that aren't going to try to help them figure that out anyway. So it's in bylaws, yeah, but it's something we've been practicing, quite frankly, already. So
Dr. David Woods, principal at Portland High School, joining us here on Coach's Corner.
Maurice, where's your master stuff? I see me and him's got it going on.
Who's your pick, Dr. Woods? Give me one.
I want to see Rory get this thing done. It's that meltdown he had a few years ago on hole 10, standing in those bushes over there, just about killed me. And I'm not a huge Rory fan. I've become a bigger fan. I've been a Tiger fan all my life, but I want to see Rory finally get this thing done.
That'd be nice. And I remember that when they say he's hit the ball somewhere we didn't know that it was possible. He's like in between the two cabins. That's never a good thing.
No, that's about as far left of 10 as you can go. It was up there by the little cabins. Yeah.
Other thing, real quick, I wanted to ask you, David, was am I reading this correct? You got some experience in Kentucky prior to coming to the Volunteer State?
Yeah, I was born and raised in a little town called Morganfield, Kentucky. We go by counties there, Union County, and so I played high school sports there. And my first teaching job was at Allen County, Scottsville, right across the border here. And I still live in Bowling Green, and I drive down here every day. But yeah, I've been in Kentucky quite a bit.
Hang on, Wade, before you go any further. Union County. You didn't wrestle up there, did you?
I did not wrestle, but I knew Loaders Rollers very well, and some of my best friends did wrestle.
Man, I tell you what, I covered a few of their teams at the GP West Invitational down at Brentwood and over at Father Ryan. They got it going on with that program. I would think that's probably one of the better programs in Kentucky, and they
100%.
Yeah. So okay, go ahead, Wade.
Well, I was just going to ask where your allegiances lie. Are you Big Blue Nation? And if so, how would you evaluate this first season under Coach Pope?
Yeah, I'm 100% Big Blue. I get to take it beating around here all the time because Tennessee's better than everything of us right now, supposedly. So I take it. At first, I was like everybody else. I was wanting a big home run hire with a Danny Hurley or all these guys. But then when they got Mark and seen what he's done for first year, I thought it was pretty successful, being he had 0 players on the roster when he took over about this time last year for Cal, and then Cal took all the guys with him. So very excited. I've been watching the transfer portal like crazy. I think we're doing very well there, and he's bringing some guys back, and so we'll start building it. But I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be good. But the SEC, dear Lord, it's bloodbath, man. Everybody's good. Everybody.
Final piece there. What was the reaction like walking the halls? Kentucky beats Tennessee twice in the regular season, and we saw what happened in March Madness, obviously. How bitter of a pill was that to swallow for you?
It wasn't that bad, really. I mean, I didn't think we'd beat them twice.
You're one of the few rational Kentucky fans, it sounds like.
Yeah, what it sounds like. Yeah.
Rick Barnes. I love Rick Barnes. I'm not a Tennessee fan at all. I cheer for him to lose at all costs. But I love Rick Barnes. And when he came there a few years ago and everybody's complaining, I'm like, you guys are nuts. This guy can coach. And so those 2 wins, I mean, I couldn't find my Tennessee people around there. They were hiding. But the third game, I figured the third time I didn't think we were going to beat them. I thought we were going to lose 5 or 6 points. And they came out on fire and were definitely a better team. But they should have saved a little bit of that for the next game because they didn't do well the next one.
Hello. Dr. David Woods joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports today. Coach, Doc, we appreciate your time, man, and good luck as you continue your work with the Legislative Council. I know that like you said, you kind of got thrown into the fire with Art's departure, but we appreciate your effort, and hopefully things will calm down for y'all.
Yeah, I hope so. Like I said, our goal, whether you're an administrator here or with TW, is trying to do right by our students and our student athletes. So if we keep that goal in mind and make that our priority, I don't see where we can go wrong.
There you go. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
It's time for Coach's Corner, and I believe we are joined by the esteemed Joe Williams of the Williamson Herald. Joe, are you there?
Esteemed?
Esteemed, absolutely.
Yeah, that fits.
Yeah. I appreciate that. For an old man, it makes me feel good.
Well, Joe Williams is with us, and I'm kind of here, but Joe, Joe struck some nerves yesterday with a column that ran in the Williamson Herald, and to set this up, apparently word has come out from the state legislature that they and the TSSAA aren't playing particularly nice these days, I guess. And so the state legislature has decided that perhaps they just need to take on governing high school athletics. Among others, Joe didn't think that was a great idea.
No, I don't. I still don't.
Okay. Well, I didn't expect it to have changed since you wrote your column, but I mean, just kind of
Well, here's the thing, Maurice, and you know, I kind of got wind of this last week that this was kind of rumbling around the Capitol. And I laughed it off. I thought, this is so crazy. This ain't never going to happen. And lo and behold, earlier this week, it comes out, yes, that's actually what they're thinking about doing. So, you know, it struck me a couple of comments that a couple of the legislators made, such as we don't think that the TSSAA has been honest or straightforward in their discussions with us. And I thought, really, you guys are saying that? It's just of all the things that the state legislature needs to be worried about right now, this ain't one of them. And the bad part is, this is not about good government. This is from what I have since learned, is a situation where apparently, and I'm not going to mention any names until I can confirm. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
one of the legislators who's so involved in this had a student athlete who got either denied a transfer, couldn't get around it, it wasn't going to work. So now they've decided that there needs to be a one-time free pass rule. Wasn't an issue until this legislature's, till his ox got gored, it wasn't a big deal. And now all of a sudden it's this huge deal. Well, they went to the TSSAA. TSSAA said, no, we don't want to do that. So as soon as they said no, now the state legislature wants to come in and take them over. I'm sick of this crap. We got roads that need to be fixed, bridges that need to be fixed. We need to cut down on sales taxes. And on top of that, for goodness sakes, if you're worried about schools and education, fully fund every school district in the state like you should. Then you can worry about who's going where, why. I'm on my soapbox, man. I'm sorry.
No, that's kind of what we brought you for, Joe, because, I mean, the TSSAA is not without its warts.
Oh, gosh, no.
And I don't think anybody would try to say otherwise. But I think to one degree, I think sometimes the devil that you know is better than the devil that you don't know. For another, I think that there are a lot more subtleties and nuances involved with high school athletics than folks that only deal with it in passing realize.
Well, I'll tell you the same thing that I said in my column yesterday. Look, I've seen both ends. I have been under the disciplinary procedures of the TSSAA before, back 150 years ago when I was playing, our team was. And I've seen them show tremendous compassion. I have hated the TSSAA, and I have loved the TSSAA. And as I get older, it tells me they must be doing something right. If you can go to both extremes. Do they have issues? Yeah, they have issues. Do they have things they need to change? Yes, they have things they need to change. But as you say, it's the devil because you know what you're getting a hold of. I chuckled this morning. One of the state senators, I've got to look him up, but Dr. Adam Lowe apparently found the column and called it from the good old boy, paid for by the good old boy something group.
Oh, Lord.
And I thought, brother,
if you only knew.
You want to talk about
clearly he didn't read the article.
Well, apparently, no, I think he did. He just didn't like it. And to say it's paid for by the good old boy network. Come on, this is the state legislature. Which I
don't think he did read it, Joe, because at one point you mentioned in that article, I am a member of the party that is in the supermajority in the state legislature.
Well, technically, yes. But that doesn't matter anymore. And that's a whole story for another day. But I am more and more convinced that, at least in Williamson County and probably the state, we need a third party. Because I think if we had a third party, the other two would collapse from the folks in the middle of both of those parties coming together.
Yeah.
That's a political statement. That's just, But yeah, you're right. I mean, here's the problem. Here's what's happened. Everybody, all these folks went up there, and I said this in the column, under the theory of less government is better. Oh, my God, I love that idea. Local government governs best. Oh, my gosh, that's a great idea. And once they got there, they wanted to tell everybody else how to do it. They wanted to tell Memphis how to do their things. They didn't want to tell Nashville that their council was too big. You know what? It's not your concern. That's a local issue. High school sports is a local issue. Now, granted, it's a statewide local issue. And yeah, they got problems, but to just get rid of an organization that has been a good steward and made some mistakes and made some really good moves in the last 100 years is just ridiculous.
Joe, my immediate question or thought is, all right, so let's say that this does come to its fullest fruition. Are there any other parallels or clear examples of other states that have enacted something like this that we can maybe kind of look to and see what their results have panned out? That would be my first question.
Look to the state of Florida.
That's usually not a good place to be, as we've talked about with high school athletics in this state.
Look to the state of Florida. Guys, it's the wild, wild west out there. I use the example, there was a kid here in Williamson County several years ago who played football for high school A. And on
It ain't
Friday
been
night,
that long ago, but go ahead.
Manhattan. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But he started for high school A on Friday night. On Saturday morning, the moving van shows up. They move, and he enrolls Monday at high school B. He makes his practices, and the next Friday night he starts for high school B when they play high school A. Now, I will grant you, Williamson County is a bubble. God, I know. I mean, there is no question about that. We're a bubble. People here, not me, not Mo, but there are people here who can afford to do that.
Yeah.
And they do. But here's the thing. That was a legitimate, bona fide change of address. That meant the rules. So, what do you do? So, but that's not the case everywhere. And these folks are looking for this one-time transfer. And look, here's the problem. Right now, the way things sit, Tennessee's going to be almost a Wild West state. It's wild West in Florida. But it's, just look at what's happening in the state of Florida, and it'll tell you everything you need to know. It's kind of like democracy. It's kind of like our government. Is it perfect? No, but it's the best thing going. TSSAA is kind of the same way. Is it perfect? No, but it's absolutely the best thing going, and it beats the devil. I had to check myself there. It beats the devil. Yeah, thank you. It beats the devil of the alternative, turning it over to the state. Who needs another bureaucracy at the state?
Here's what's crazy about this whole thing, Joe, is that the TSSAA is being boiled down to transfers.
Yeah.
For everything else that they deal with, state championships, the whole gamut of everything that they deal with, transfers is where we're at. That's the sticking point. That's the reason for a potential takeover.
Well, and it's simply because of one, and somebody's ox got gored, and under most circumstances, we'd call this abuse of power. But I don't know if anybody's got the courage to stand up and say that. If I can confirm what I think I know, I probably will. Of course, my days are numbered anyway. I'm old. I don't care. That was the other line. From the good old boy, get off my lawn, old folks. That's what Dr. Adam Lowe, I've got to look him up. I'm going to answer him. This is also the guy who got caught on a hot mic talking about all the hot moms that showed up at the Capitol. So, the guy obviously knows what he's talking about.
Joe Williams of the Williamson Herald joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, as we discuss, the pluses and minuses of the TSSAA and the state legislature potentially taking them over here on Coach's Corner, which is typically devoted to high school sports. And so we use a little latitude in bringing Joe on to discuss this, but it's something that needs discussing, and Wade had something.
Well, I was going to ask Joe, is the transfer issue, is that the only issue that has been cited thus far, kind of at the political level? And I'm curious if the legislature kind of maps this out. Do they have any sort of roadmap, or is it just we're just so early in this process they don't even have anything necessarily proposed just yet?
I think they're so early in this roadmap they don't have anything to propose. They see a problem, but they have no solution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
that's how it appears to me.
Yeah, but they got a year to work on it now. The session is over.
Right.
They've got a year for lobbyists to all get together and work on it. It is so frustrating sometimes to understand how you don't want to see sausage made. You just want it on the biscuit in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what the legislature does, is it makes sausage. And sometimes you have to watch it happen. And the biggest deal is they don't have, you got one or two who want something done, and they don't care how it has to get done. They don't understand how it has to get done. They don't understand what they're going to have when they're finished. They just want to be able to say, my kid can go where I want them to.
You've mentioned one political figure by name and, in singularity. Is this something that you feel maybe there's more? Is this a groundswell, or is this a deal where herding sheep or cattle just lined up and everybody's just going to follow the leader person? Is there going to be opposition to this? I guess my question.
Oh, I'm sure there will be. The one I mentioned is Senator Adam Lowe, and he was, like I said, that was just a Twitter thing. That I think the groundswell, if you want to call this, is coming out of the House of Representatives, and in many cases that has become a sea of lemmings. You have leadership, and whatever they say goes, or you're gone. We'll just get rid of you. I think. It's getting into the political aspect, but I think you're beginning to see more and more, especially at the end of this session, where representatives began to represent their constituents and not their party. There were a few breaks along the way. So, I think this is one of those that you're going to see breaks. And all this gets tied. You can tie all this back to school vouchers, et cetera. Won't even go there. But the whole concept of this is, well, we want to be able to say everybody gets a one-time pass. Well, okay, if everybody gets a one-time pass, what happens when they need a second one-time pass? All of a sudden, that grass that was greener turns out to be artificial turf, and you can't eat it.
Correct.
Now what? Here's the thing. It's the rules are pretty simple, and part of it goes back to this organization being 100 years old, which was, back in the days of neighborhood schools. If you lived in this neighborhood, this is where you went to school. And as I said in the column, that's a story and a concept for a whole nother day. But I come back to, I think that's part of it, in that we don't necessarily have neighborhood schools anymore. Per se, at least not like we did. The neighborhood is so much larger. The schools are so much larger.
Joe, I think, as you mentioned vouchers, I think some of this is attached to the voucher situation, in that once students have an opportunity to move from a public school with a voucher to a private school, they want to be sure that they can be eligible when that takes place. So I think there's some relationship between the voucher situation and the eligibility situation.
I think
seemed to make sense that it would.
Yeah, without a doubt. So my question becomes, what happens after the first year when the voucher covers 15% and the family figures out that the other 85% they can't afford? Now the kid's got to go back to public schools. Do you get another free pass to go back?
No, it's a one-time pass.
And why do you get a one-time pass? Going in, here's the deal.
It's a slippery slope at the very least. And, as you mentioned, this legislative session is over. And maybe before they reconvene, maybe some cooler heads can prevail on this. It's only being discussed, but I think that the fact that it's being discussed is enough to put you on edge about it.
Well, but a few years ago, Maurice, the issue of spending public money on private schools was only being discussed too. Especially when you are not fully funding all of the public schools that are out there. And again, I know Williamson County lives in a bubble, but I'll use that as an example. The schools in Williamson County have this great reputation. Typically, they're in the top 10 nationwide year after year after year because they got dedicated people and hardworking teachers and good students. However, as you probably already know, the per pupil state contribution to our local schools is about 60% of what the normal is supposed to be, because they say in Williamson County, you have the economic ability to make that up. So we're going to take your money and give it to somebody else.
Yeah. Basically, you're getting punished for being good at what you do.
Yeah, I think, Robin Hood. That's it. Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Joe, what response, if any, have we got from the TSSAA thus far, whether it's publicly or kind of through back channels that you may have heard?
They are being very quiet. They're smart enough to understand the battle that they're in. I don't think you'll see a public response from this unless it gets further down the line. I'm sure they have their folks also working behind the scenes. I think it's going to take a grassroots groundswell from media, parents, teachers, athletic directors, principals to the state legislature to make them understand. And I go back to, look, I understand that TSSAA has their issues. God, I've had them. As I said, I've had with them before. But it's not like they haven't tried. And one of the issues was, students don't even have a say. They don't even have a seat. Athletes don't have a seat at the table with the TSSAA. My God, they just named their new 20-member student athlete commission or committee. Okay, here's the difference. You saw a problem. They found a solution. You're not giving anybody, the legislature's not giving anybody these solutions. They're just throwing it up against the wall to see if it sticks.
No one consulted the TSSAA too after they spent all that money on celebrating 100 years and go out and change their logo either, Joe. They could have at least saved them some money before they went out and rebranded themselves to celebrate that, right?
Well, I guess it's like some other things. It's kind of like having that 50th wedding anniversary. By the way, somebody wants a divorce as soon as the party's over. I don't know. I'm kind of like you. They could have. And this, I think this has been ongoing for a while, very quietly. Like I said, I think somebody at the Capitol didn't get the answer they wanted. So like a petulant child, they threw down a gauntlet.
It's a mess. And again, it doesn't need to be. And hopefully, again, cooler heads will prevail on this, but it's certainly something to be aware of. And it's going to be discussed a lot until it goes away or until it actually happens. But Joe Williams of the Williamson Herald joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports Today. And if you've not seen the column, be sure and go to, WilliamsonHerald.com? Sure.
WilliamsonHerald.com, look under sports.
And check it out because, Joe makes some points and he makes them as only Joe can. So be sure and check that out. Joe, again, we appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon, and I'm sure we'll be catching up.
My friends, honored, always honored to be with you. Honored.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Joe.
Y'all have a great afternoon.
Yeah, you too.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Right now, though, we're pleased to have with us Marin Angus Coombs of Softball on SI. Marin, good afternoon.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
What's happening?
What's happening?
Well, you're talking about my college team, UCLA, being in the news lately.
They are in the news. Right, wrong, or otherwise, they are in the news. So it's just kind of where we are in college athletics, I guess. And we even saw a little bit of this last summer. Marin, with the young lady that transferred from Stanford to Texas Tech, that bastion of softball dominance. And I cannot think of her name, and I know you know it immediately, but you know that it's just kind of where we're going, it feels like.
Yeah, Nigeri Kennedy. She transferred.
How is she doing?
Great.
How are they doing?
Okay. Surprisingly, let's start with her former team, Stanford, who just set the new NCAA softball attendance record over the weekend with over 13,000 people at their game. They called it the Big Swing. And for those who don't pay attention to the ACC,
right.
Stanford softball stadium is under construction, so they are playing at Stanford football stadium this year. And it is the coolest thing you probably ever see. And they had more than 13,000 people for their game against Cal on Sunday. It was awesome.
In their conference game against Cal.
But yeah, so Nigeri Kennedy is at Texas Tech. They're doing just fine. But she did get that sweet NIL deal of about $1.2 million.
I don't know that we've talked to you about that, but that number, and again, all due respect to the sport, how outrageous was that?
Yeah, pretty outrageous. It's a number that we really don't see in softball. You see it in football. Don't see it so much with softball. So for Nyjah to get that kind of a deal, she's worth it. And from learning some of the behind the scenes things, several schools were after her, but she was able to get one specific person to come in for Texas Tech and say, hey, we're not going to lose you to Texas. We're not going to lose you to Oklahoma. How much do you need?
That's all it takes, right?
That exactly. You just need one. I mean, that's going to kind of be the theme for a lot of folks in this draft here in a couple of days. You only need one team to fall in love with you. And for Nyjah, it was Texas Tech, I guess. So kudos again to her.
Yeah. So she's doing fine. She's still going to be, I think she's in the running for the National Player of the Year. Do I think she's as dominant as she was at Stanford? No, but she's doing more. She's become a two-way player. Stanford didn't use her as a two-way player as much as Texas Tech is. But we will see how Texas Tech does down the stretch, because they have never played in a Women's College World Series, period. So this is uncharted waters.
What we brought you on for, and obviously we kind of went off on a tangent there, but we can do that. But I saw Softball America's top 25 yesterday, and it's been same song, different sport all year for Wade and I, talking about the dominance of the Southeastern Conference in football, in men's basketball, and women's basketball, in baseball. And so when you look at the Softball America Top 25 poll this week and you see 7 of the top 10 spots are filled by SEC programs, it's not a great surprise.
No, not at all. Not a surprise at all. The only surprise I would say is that it's kind of been a rotating door at the top. There is no dominant number one team this year.
Okay.
However, the top 5 teams have kind of separated themselves in a way where the top 5 have been in the top 5 for quite some time. It's just a different order.
And this week, that revolving door is kind of got orange trim on it because it's the Lady Vols of Tennessee sitting in that number 1 spot this week, as you put it. Texas A&M, last week's number 1, is now number 2. Texas, also of the SEC, is number 3. Florida State breaks up the roll at number 4, Florida, followed by Oklahoma, Arkansas. Excuse me. Oregon, Florida, UCLA, and South Carolina. Who of those 7 SEC teams are you most surprised to see in the top 10?
Ooh.
I'll give you a minute to think about that because I didn't realize South Carolina. I know South Carolina has traditionally been a pretty good softball program. I didn't realize that was. I wasn't familiar with their game. I apologize, as Shaq would say. I didn't realize they were this good this year.
Yes. So South Carolina, I would say, is a surprise because they have not been this good over the past couple of seasons. Now they've got a new coaching staff. They took advantage of the transfer portal and brought in 6 players from Charlotte, which is where the coaching staff is from. And they have turned it around. They're doing a great job. The coaching staff there is doing a great job with this program. And they've really, they are a top 10 team. Now, of the group that you mentioned, I would say it's the most surprising because they weren't there last year.
Get ready, race fans. NASCAR is back in Music City with a new name, the Cracker Barrel 400. Guitars, fast cars, and the comfort of Cracker Barrel's country hospitality. May 30th through June 1st. The action kicks off Friday night at Nashville Super Speedway with the Rackley Roofing 200. Then the Tennessee Lottery 250 on Saturday. And Sunday night, NASCAR's top stars under the lights in the Cracker Barrel 400. Get your tickets now at NashvilleSuperspeedway.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Maybe not though. Tampa's 3-1 now that I look at it. Maybe the turns will be tabled, as they say.
Tampa getting adjusted to their new digs. Well, Tampa opened against the Rockies though also. So take that for what it's worth. It is Top 5 Tuesday, and Wade and I, in observance of Sunday's women's basketball championship game and Monday's men's basketball championship game, will give you our top 5 championship games. Wade, the floor is yours.
I'm going to start it off, but real quick, I do want to say I don't like the way that they flip-flop this now with the women's tournament. I wish they would have the men's game on Monday and then the women's on Tuesday. I enjoy kind of catching up, quote-unquote, throughout the course of the tournament, catching those. You got that basketball Jones going on, and then, the only thing on, unless you want to watch the Crown, was women's basketball last night, which is great and played at a high level. I feel like they should get their own, after-the-fact kind of extra hype. That's a minor gripe from me.
I was having a conversation with a good friend yesterday, and he was advocating for a similar schedule set up to what you see with softball and baseball, where the women's postseason moves maybe a couple of weeks ahead of the men's postseason, so that they do kind of get a little love by themselves. Maybe, I don't know that would ever happen, but it feels like the women's game has advanced to the point, and I think there's enough interest in it that there ought to be some kind of way that they don't necessarily have to share the stage. And
it's just weird. They play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday before, and then now all of a sudden, boom, you're flip-flopping it. I don't necessarily like it, but hey, it'll be fun and we'll tune in. But I digress. But national championship games, number one on my list, without question, at the ripe old age of 2 years old. I watched, maybe. I don't know. I'd like to think I watched at least. As Michigan defeats Seton Hall for their men's basketball national championship. Part of that epic run, part of that crazy, wild storyline as they make their way to the championship. And Glenn Rice's 184 points, unless Cooper Flagg drops 50-plus in his next 2 games, should still be safe as the all-time tournament record. But I got to go with the Wolverines at number 1.
My number 1, and this game was so hyped, man, and you wouldn't have been much older this time if you were any older. The 1988 matchup between Kansas and Oklahoma, it was an all Big 8 championship game. Danny Manning and the Miracles for KU, Stacey King, Ryan Miner. I think Mookie Blaylock was on that team for Oklahoma. Man, it was hyped as a fantastic matchup, and it was everything that it was hyped to be. Kansas won that ball game 83-79, but what a fantastic matchup that was between two teams that were so familiar with each other. And again, there was just so much build up. And Wade, when you get games with a whole lot of build up like that, they don't always live up. This one did. Probably my favorite. Well, definitely my top 5 best NCAA championship game. So
I'm with you.
That's my number 1.
Number 2 for me, this game would have been number 1 if one shot in particular had gone in. But 2010, when that 4-letter school from North Carolina beats Butler in the national championship, if Gordon Hayward's shot, which I still go back and watch, and I just wonder how it didn't go in, if that shot had fallen, it would not have been my most favorite national championship game of all time. It probably would have been a lot of folks. It's an epic game as is, ultimate underdog story, and Butler comes up a half-court shot, nearly banked in to win the title, but they come up just shy. So the Blue Devils knocking off Butler's got to be my number 2.
My number 2, and I don't remember it, but there have been movies made about it and the significance of it. 1966, Texas Western 72, Kentucky 65. First time you saw a all-black starting lineup in a national championship game, and Don Haskins had those guys on a razor's edge, and they took care of business in College Park, Maryland, winning that one over the Wildcats. Texas Western goes on to become UTEP. Don Haskins goes on to have an arena named in his honor, and, you know, the rest is history. Yeah, 1966, Texas Western, Kentucky, my number 2.
No doubt. That one is an iconic game. It's an iconic game that transcends sports, like you said, right? Very, very well deserved. Probably should have been both of our number ones, to be honest. Up next for me, 2003, you got Melo, you got Jerry Mack. You really don't got to say a lot else, but when Syracuse beats Kansas, kind of putting the bow on what was just a borderline cultural phenomenon, the way that Syracuse was just blowing past teams and the way that Melo was just kind of turning the game on his head. So much fun to watch that entire team, that entire run. And then when they beat Kansas to kind of claim, to really validate their stake in college basketball as elite. I thought the 2003 title win versus Kansas was a seminal moment and really, really kind of a cool title game.
My number 3, I'm going to go over to the women's side for just a second. 1996, Tennessee defeats Georgia in an all-SEC championship matchup, 83-65. The first of 3 straight Lady Vol national title wins there, capped by an undefeated run in 1998. Yeah, this was Pat at her finest right here against another coach and another program that probably knew her and them better than anybody else in Andy Landers and the Lady Bulldogs. But big win for UT there after winning in, 89, 91, and then running off 3 straight in 96, 97, and 98. This was the first of that 3 in a row there. That's my number 3.
Good pull. Lady Vols, dominant, man, just makes you feel good inside to think about those glory years there. Number 4 for me, Kansas is on this list again, and this time they win. And, you know, the game kind of, depending on what school you're at, doesn't count. But when Kansas beats Memphis 75-68 in the 2008 championship game, an iconic run, obviously, with Derrick Rose and Coach Calipari, a young, dare I say, John Calipari at the time. Man, an epic run and an epic game. Doesn't go Memphis' way, even though they were a 2-point favorite coming into that game. But Mario Chalmers, your MVP. And if you go to the campus of Memphis, for a variety of reasons, it technically doesn't exist. Some of the fans just kind of don't want to forget, and some of the NCAA kind of force them to forget.
Yeah. That was an overtime game, by the way.
Unreal.
Yeah. My number 4, shout out to Nolan Richardson, 40 Minutes of Hell, 1994, and you'll love this one, Wade, I know. Arkansas 76, Duke 72. That 4-letter team out of North Carolina. Scotty Thurman, Corliss Williamson, love those Razorback teams, man. Yep. I don't think Oliver Miller was on that team. I think he was gone by then, maybe. But again, Big O passed away here not too long ago. Shout out to him as well. But that's my number 4, Arkansas 1994.
I'm going back and forth on number 5. I got 2 that I really want to pick. I can only pick one. So you got to go 1983 when NC State, Jimmy V running around, going crazy.
Looking for somebody to hug.
Just looking for somebody to hug and looking to also duck the NCAA, just trying to keep things on the up and up for things that would seem pedestrian nowadays. But I digress. Times were different back then. NC State knocking off Houston. Just an unreal story and kind of just, man, we've got a great tournament on our hands this year in terms of star power and, 4 number 1 seeds. But there is something to be said when you kind of just want to believe that the little guy can do it. And in that sense, they very much were the little guy.
No doubt. I mean, you catch an air ball and stick it in for the winning basket. I mean, that's pretty little guy luck like right there. Big win for the Wolfpack. My number 5, I'm going back to the women for just a second. I'm betting that 30 years later, Charlotte Smith probably still doesn't have to buy drinks in Chapel Hill after her last second jumper from the right wing gave Carolina a 60-59 win over Louisiana Tech in the 94 championship. Kind of continued to put North Carolina women's basketball on the map there. Huge win for Sylvia Hatchell in that program. And again, Charlotte Smith, ice water on that final possession there. That's my number 5. Honorable mentions to Villanova 66, Georgetown 64 in an all Big East matchup in 1985, and to the Purdue women knocking off Duke 62-45 in 1999. Great moment for Carolyn Peck, who was recently honored by the Women's Basketball Coaches Association with the Mel Greenberg Media Award. So congrats to Coach Peck. But any honorable mentions hanging out on your list, Wade?
For sure. Go back to 82. Georgetown is always the bridesmaid here is the take-home message. But you think of North Carolina, you think of the shot, you think of Michael Jordan 63, Georgetown 62. Not just again, we didn't know it at the time necessarily, but that was a transcendent moment that spawned massive culture shock across the country. North Carolina was a small favorite. They win it by one, even though they were 1.5 point favorite. But a crazy game as the Tar Heels and MJ go on to fame that is still being talked about today. Now we're talking today about Michael Jordan suing NASCAR. None of that happens if he doesn't hit that shot, perhaps, versus Georgetown. Who knows?
Most likely not. Yeah, it's a good pool. We are going to forego our final break of the day, and we are going to slide straight into Top 5 Tuesday. As Wade and I give you this week our top 5 fictional basketball players. Mr. Neely, it's to you.
I feel like we've had this list at some point, or at least had this discussion at some point. So I'm going to go back to, maybe we haven't, but at least I feel like I've had it with somebody. In my list, I
think we had it for football. I didn't think we had it for basketball.
Can you not go with Jesus Shuttlesworth at number 1? I could get into the off-the-court stuff too. I won't. You can watch the movie for yourself. He got game, but there's a couple scenes that Jesus wins off the court as well. So, but on the court, I got to go Jesus Shuttlesworth. We're talking about the Sebastian Telfair, basically, to throw it back, the DeJuan Wagner, if you will, of that era. A Spike Lee joint, great movie from start to finish, elite soundtrack with Public Enemy. Give me Jesus Shuttlesworth, the top player coming out of high school, with Denzel and a great cameo as well.
I'm going to take Neon Budo from Blue Chips, Shaquille O'Neal. And you know, excuse me, if you've not seen Blue Chips, you can't really call yourself a sports fan, I do not believe. Nick Nolte, he's loosely based on Bob Knight, gotta be. I'm convinced. And it's just a very entertaining movie. And again, everything that went on in that movie would all be legal now as well. So hey, yeah. But yeah, give me Shaquille O'Neal as Neon Budo as my number 1.
It's I still have not seen it. Or if I did, it was when I was a kid, right? But it's on my list because 2 weeks ago that was the feature on the Rewatchables podcast, and they even had Van Lathan in there, the great Van Lathan, to break that down.
Wow!
An elite, one of my favorite pods. But they dip into sports every now and again too, and Blue Chips was on there. So good pull, and it's on the list.
You got to check that out. Yeah.
We've done great movies we haven't seen, and that one is definitely near the top in terms of sports movies for me.
Number 2?
Number 2 for me, man. Again, kind of like Jesus Shuttlesworth. I don't really got to say a lot, but Lola Bunny from Space Jam. I don't got to say a lot, but I will. And if you want me to say a lot, she was 4 of 4 for 8 points, only trailing Michael Jordan against the Monstars. And if MJ, he had to do what he had to do, but if he had dished it off a little bit more, I would have felt just as confident in Lola Bunny. So yeah, give me Lola as the primary scorer there in Space Jam. I like it.
She was Robin to Jordan's Batman, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Since you've not seen Blue Chips, I'm going to go back to that well with Butch McRae, played by Memphis coach Anthony Penny Hardaway. And coach, if I transfer, does my mom have to give up her house? Yeah. Very, very poignant question there for Butch in that one. Wade, number 3.
Number 3 for me, Billy Hoyle, White Man Can't Jump. I want to stress the characters, I guess, are slightly different, but I want to stress the OG White Man Can't Jump. I again want to stress the original movie, not the monstrosity that was put out a couple years ago. So give me Billy Hoyle.
Okay. All right.
And he could dunk. I mean, I don't got to say a lot, but a white guy dunking, that's just it kind of speaks for itself. Matt McClung has made a lot of money doing that.
Hello. I'm going to go way back. This is not a movie character. This is a television character. From the late 70s, early 80s show, The White Shadow. Warren Coolidge of Carver High School is my number 3. Great show, especially for the time, and he was by far their best player. All LA and probably college bound. It would have been nice to have seen where he wound up and continuing that storyline elsewhere. But yeah, Warren Coolidge is my number 3. Your number 4?
Number 4 for me, Coffee Black from Semi Pro. Everybody talks about Will Ferrell, and Coffee Black, he's got the game, and he talks about making it to the pros. And, for various reasons, he didn't necessarily make it to the pros. With Andre 3000 playing Coffee Black, if we're going just a straight up game, I'd pick him to maybe round out my starting 5. So I got to put him in there.
Okay. So I've not seen Semi Pro. I'm familiar with it, but I've not seen it, and I was not familiar with that character name. But Coffee Black is a classic.
He could have made it to the pros. Various things kept him back. That's all I'm saying.
Various things, huh? Enough said. My number 4, I'm kind of torn in which direction to go in this, but I'm going to go with Lewis Scott from Celtic Pride, played by Damon Wayans, the guy that was kidnapped prior to their championship series against the Boston Celtics. Dan Aykroyd, one of the 2 guys involved in that kidnapping. It's a crazy, crazy movie, crazy funny. But yeah, give me Lewis Scott at number 4.
That's what should have happened with the Celtics and Bronny James, right? We talked about that last year. They had the chance to draft him ahead of the Lakers. And, who knows? Luka, they might not have had the goods to trade for Luka if they'd have been forced to trade for Bronny James. So the Celtics, in a weird way, kind of maybe threw the whole NBA axis or offense axis right there.
Axis.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Number 5, I got to go with this one just because in the championship game, they said there's no rule against it, but Air Bud comes in and has an electric game. And their team name was the Timberwolves, I think. And everybody's like, wait a second, a dog can't be out on the court and playing. And then they go back and they check the rules and they say, well, there's technically not a rule against it. So yeah, Air Bud is my number 5, man. That guy's got some hops.
Number 5, give me Mr. I'll Make It, Jimmy Chitwood from Hoosiers. He Stays, I Play. Another great Gene Hackman movie, obviously. But yeah, give me Jimmy Chitwood at number 5. That rounds things out for me and for us here on our Top 5 Tuesday, as we give you our top 5 fictional basketball players. But hey, shout out to Uncle Drew in those commercials. I can't even remember what the commercials were for, but Kyrie Irving showing up on the playground on the blacktop as an old guy and schooling folks left and right is pretty solid as well.
Uncle Drew's up there, and I had Will Smith from the Fresh Prince on my list as well. Didn't make the cut. Teen Wolf could have been on the list too. This is a lengthy category. There were a lot more selections.
It's pretty deep. Yeah, I mean, also Larry Johnson as Grandmama.
Yeah,
in those shoe commercials. Think it was Reebok. But yeah, out there dunking on folks in a dress and a wig. Larry Johnson was.
All right, let's not waste too much time, but it's ballpark season. Top 5 concession stand food items. Blaine, you are our special guest, so I want you to start us off. You will go, and then I will go. There was some consternation with you in the past on there, as I understand it. So give us your first overall pick as far as ballpark foods.
Yeah, and my last time, I think I had some. That was a baseball-related one. I had a controversial pick there, too. I'll have a controversial one here. My favorite food is nachos, and ballpark nachos aren't always the best. But when they hit, they hit. So my 1-1 to probably some shock and awe is going to be a good plate of some ballpark nachos.
I'm with you on that. It is a gamble, no doubt. When you pick nachos, they could be good, they could be bad. But when they are good, they are great. So that's a good pick. And you have opened the door. My 1-1 overall was the hot dog. I don't care if I'm even at a basketball game. I don't care if I'm at a football game. I'm going for the hot dog. There are many other items, but that's about as good as it gets. Throw a little dash of mustard on it, maybe some relish if you got it. Hot dog to me signifies baseball, ballpark season and all. So give me the hot dog as number 1.
I'll tell you something that signifies baseball for me. As I covered Austin Peay baseball while I was in college, it was during COVID when they would have Ohio Valley Conference double headers. Those were some of the longest days of my life and some of the most sunburnt I've been before. But the way that I'd keep myself fed for whatever reason throughout those days was through a box of popcorn. So with my second overall selection, I'm going with popcorn to pair along with the nachos.
Popcorn is a good pick. Scott Stewart is a popcorn connoisseur, and that is his go-to. Since I can't pick popcorn in his honor, though, I will pay small respect to the Pulaski Citizen Publisher. Give me cheeseburger for number 2. Blaine, we're going to have to roll with these here.
I'm going peanuts number 3. I like the messiness of it all. Feels like I'm in a Texas Roadhouse a little bit. So we're going nachos, popcorn, peanuts for me.
I love that. Ballpark, it's usually hot. Give me a icy freeze pop, some sort of ice cream. But really, if you got the old school icy, is going to be number 3 for me.
How about just to stay quenched from all this saltiness, I'll go a souvenir soda cup. So you get the soda, you pay a little extra for the cup that you keep in your cupboard for forever. Souvenir soda.
I'm with you there. Give me chicken tenders on the list. Not always the best, but they can be good. That's a sneaky pick for me late.
Again, that is a gamble. Chicken tenders just like nachos. I'll close out another gamble more times than not. It's pretty mushy, but I'll close out with some French fries, preferably the chili cheese fries if they've got them.
I'm with you there too. A little bit of a cheat on my last pick, but I'm going with the ice cream helmet, only in the helmet if possible. Not every. It's kind of a cheat because I said the icy earlier, but give me all the sweet treats, I guess.
How did I not even think of that? That's a great pick.
Stay wise, young friend. Blaine, I'm sorry we ran up on time here, but thank you for joining us today. Best of luck with this week and the draft, and have a happy Easter, my friend.
Thank you, Wade. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here on Main Street Sports today.
We are going to skip our final break of the show. We are going to go straight into Top 5 Tuesday as Wade and I give you our top 5 NFL draft busts in light of the NFL draft coming up here in a couple of days. So let's jump right into that. Mr. Neely, the floor is yours.
I got a couple good ones on my list. But, the Titans are picking number 1 overall, so I feel like I got to go with the number 1 overall pick. And it seems like the Titans are going to pick a quarterback. No ifs, ands, or buts based on some recent comments from their front office. So give me Jamarcus Russell, 2007. Felt like this guy had all the tools, all the talent in the world, just a kind of a genetic freak. But when you talk about, number 1, he was on the Raiders. Maybe take that for a little grain of salt there.
Mm-hmm.
But when they talk about, they give the guy tapes to go home and study, and then he says, I reviewed all the tapes. Things look good, coach. Thank you for giving me that. They give him blank tapes, and he didn't even watch the film and kind of lied about it. I mean, that kind of tells everything. Man, as talented, I wanted this guy to work out some way in the NFL, but it just never came to pass for the 2007 number 1 overall draft pick.
And that's unfortunate. But yeah, that's a bad one. As I was compiling my list and coming up with some research and that kind of thing, this one probably isn't as bad as it initially comes off, but for the organization and the lack of success that they've had in the draft over the last few years, Isaiah Wilson really is glaring for the Tennessee Titans. The 29th overall pick in the 2020 draft out of Georgia, offensive lineman. And, to your point about Jamarcus, kind of felt like he had all the tools, but it never showed up. Never showed up on the field for him here in Miami or anywhere else. Isaiah Wilson is my number 1 pick.
Yeah, 4 snaps for the Titans. And when his highlight of an NFL career is his off the field issues, that kind of tells you all you need to know. Virtually a non-factor by almost all accounts. He was on my list.
Number 2 for you?
Number 2 for me, if I go number 1 with the first pick, I feel compelled to go, and I got a couple number 2 picks. But Ryan Leaf, and through real no fault of his own, the Chargers didn't pick him over Peyton Manning, but that's about the only saving grace for what we saw out of the guy. Destined for stardom, seemingly lighting it up at Washington State. It went sideways in a hurry. Things got really, really bad for him to some dark places off the field. Luckily, he has managed to turn most of that around and is in a good place by all accounts now. But as far as career goes, man, him and Manning always intertwined when you talk about the draft, but absolutely a bust by every marker.
On the field, no question. And yeah, to your point, he really seems to have gotten some things together in his post NFL career, which is good because his NFL career was not very long, was not very successful. Quarterbacks seem to be particularly glaring when they don't pan out. You mentioned Russell. You mentioned Leaf. I'm going to go at number 2 to Joey Harrington, former Heisman Trophy winner who went to the Lions with the number 3 pick overall in 2002. I mean, for a franchise that was really looking for somebody to hang their hopes on, you felt pretty good about this guy until he got there. And he just looked hapless. I don't know if it was the folks around him. I don't know if he just never really got acclimated to him or what badly. Joey Harrington's my number 2.
Yeah, the Lions. That was back when these young kids don't know about it. That was back when the Lions were the Lions. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Exactly.
So, speaking of, I'm taking another line. Charles Rogers was the number 2 pick in the 2003 draft. And this is a guy that seemed destined to be maybe not an all-pro, but maybe one of the greatest wide receivers ever coming out of Michigan State. And it never panned out for Mr. Charles Rogers, who unfortunately passed away with liver cancer issues down the stretch. It was not good from the jump. And again, a Lions pick that did not pan out by any stretch.
By any stretch. Alabama running backs have been a mixed bag at the NFL level. Trent Richardson obviously one of the worst, the number 3 overall pick to the Browns in 2012. Last you heard he was playing in some minor league, I think. Yeah, it just never did work for him either. And I don't know if they, just come out of college with no tread left on the tires except for Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram, but it didn't Richardson in Cleveland or anywhere. He's my number 3.
Yeah, 4 out of 19 picks by the Browns on Wikipedia under draft bust. Take that for what it's worth. Speaking of busts and speaking of wide receivers, Justin Blackmon for the Jaguars in 2012, another electric receiver that you had high hopes for, did not pan out.
Did I see where he got arrested recently?
And he does not look a thing like an NFL wide receiver.
At all. Not at all. Not at all. Is that music? Oh, goodness. Yeah, we got to hurry. My number 4 is Todd Marinovich, the robo quarterback out of USC, again, to the Raiders. Number 5?
Number 5 for me, I got to go Zach Wilson. I don't need to say much more about it.
There you go. My number 5, another quarterback, Art Schlichter, kicked out of the league for gambling. Enough said.
Are you the biggest race fan? Our friends at Rackley Roofing want to send you to the Rackley 200 Craftsman Truck Series race at the Nashville Superspeedway on May 30th. Go to your favorite Main Street Media page and click the Enter to Win banner. We will see you at the track.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
This week, Wade and I will give you our top 5 foods that hold up best as leftovers. Should be fun. Wade, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mo. This is going to be a fun one, and I will go ahead and say this first and foremost. Despite picking this topic today, I don't eat a ton of leftovers, so this list is the best of the very best for me. So just know that going in. Don't you dare put any of this in the microwave if at all possible. We're going air fryer or oven. So just know that if it's on this list, this is up there. High praise for these foods. And teased this earlier, but I'm going with a little bit of an offshoot, kind of the cousin to the lasagna she mentioned. Mm-hmm. But give me a little leftover spaghetti, mom spaghetti, if you will, in particular. Mama Neely does it best. And the double dose on the marinara is always something that suffices. And if you can get the microwave situated just right, not too hot, but also not too cold, the leftover spaghetti absolutely slaps. That's got to be my number 1.
It's very much a Goldilocks scenario there. It's got to be
100%.
Just right. You are right. I'm going to go number 1 out of the box. Jody does a white chicken chili that the longer it sits, the better it gets, man. And I guess it's just the seasonings maybe soaking in or something. I'm not sure, but give me Jody's white chicken chili with some Fritos and some shredded cheese and some sour cream. And yeah, we're good. We can eat off that for, well, it's not going to last a week, but yeah, white chicken chili.
I'm with you there. And hers is undoubtedly better than mine, but yeah, you are exactly right. Throw that bad boy in, let the seasonings kind of creep in. That's what it's all about right there. Number 2 for me, give me Chinese food, but also specifically give me General Tso's chicken, especially. Kind of same concept. You can get a little bit of the extra savory seasonings, get a little bit of the extra juice runoff, throw it on some rice that you maybe have left over. You throw some General Tso's chicken in, and woo, mama, you don't have to even heat it up. That's how good it is.
There you go. I'm going to harken back to Thanksgiving because, you ate this for a week because the turkey that you got was too big. But yeah. Post Thanksgiving turkey. You can make a sandwich.
Yeah.
You can heat it up with some other sides. Yeah. Turkey after Thanksgiving or after any holiday. Give me that for my number 2.
That's the gold standard, right? I mean, like you said, versatile.
Very.
Do a number of different things with that. Number 3 for me, this is a simple one, but pizza. You don't have to heat it up. You can heat it up. Sometimes it's better when it is heated up. Sometimes it's not better, but pizza always kind of hits, and it saves you. You just grab it and go. If you package it up just right, you just grab a piece and you're off. You don't even have to worry about putting extra containers away. So give me pizza with number 3, kind of a nice sweet spot in the 3rd round there.
In somewhat the same vein as the chili, give me red beans and rice.
Ooh, mama.
Yeah. Again, when it gets a little time to sit and marinate and pour that over your rice, you're good to go with that sausage in it. Yeah, give me that. That's my number 3.
I'm with you, and I'm rolling right in the same boat. This is one of my favorites. But leftover Thai curry, you can sub in whatever protein you want. But I've done chicken and I've even done tofu, and they all slap the next day because to that point, whether it's a soup base, whether it's a chili type base, the Thai curry, the extra paste that kind of just seeps in there. Oh man, it tastes better oftentimes the second go around than it does the first. So give me the Thai curry right there at number 4.
And I think the one thing that all of these kind of have in common is the chance to kind of sit and rest. Maybe I'm not sure, but give me pot roast at number 4. Don't get
that's
it
a good call.
But yeah, particularly when you've got it with the potatoes and everything cut up in it and it's all cooked together and it just sits and rests and soaks everything up. Yeah. Pot roast, number 4.
Up next for me, I need something to kind of round out this lineup here that I've assembled for myself. So I'm going chicken salad at the end. I don't make this very often. And I don't necessarily think about it as a leftover, but I just feel like I've got too much heat kind of on my plate right now with spaghetti, Chinese food, Thai curry, and pizza. I need something to kind of cleanse the palate a little bit, and chicken salad feels like it's speaking to me. You could do worse for leftovers and very versatile, kind of like our turkey example earlier.
Very versatile. In fact, I don't really care for giving out free plugs, but we like chicken salad chick around here and the different varieties that you can get. There's so much you can do with chicken salad. So yeah, absolutely. That's a great go right there. I'm not a big soup guy, but loaded potato soup, with the bacon cooked in and you add the shredded cheese when you heat it up. That's solid as well. And it's better, the second time around or even further down the line again. So yeah, give me the loaded potato soup. I don't know that I would ever eat all of these at the same time to your point, but because they're all pretty much entrees, it feels like. But yeah, that's not bad.
Same with meatloaf, which is an honorable mention for me. You give me a good little meatloaf after the fact, I could do some damage.
I've got I had meatloaf. I got I must have some Cajun somewhere. I don't know, but I've also got jambalaya and gumbo. And maybe
Jazz Fest weekend. So you're channeling your vibes right there.
There we go. Good stuff. The rice-based stuff, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are our best foods that hold up best as leftovers. We're going to keep you well fed and well informed here on Main Street.
And we reduce
Sports
food waste by doing this. Look at us being very eco-friendly.
Yep. Got to. You know, we've only got one Earth, right? So, yeah.
Yep. And then, if you let it go too long, though, that's when the raccoons in the neighborhood, they get a little free treat as well. They appreciate that every now and again.
Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's going to do it